Alright, welcome back everyone. Today we have a new video by Jimmy High Roller. When you score 83 points in a game and nobody cares, well, obviously, it's crazy because, recently, I think not even like 2 weeks ago, we reacted to a video of Bam, his video about, oh, is it possible to score 100 in a video, no, in a game? And it's like, we talked about this stuff about, Kobe's 81 point game and, those other players that were, on track to pass his record, but, were benched, during the game, whatever. It's like, bro, and it's crazy. It's like, bro, Bam must have seen this video, bro. So it's like crazy, man. Hey, it's crazy. Like literally, right when Jimmy makes this video, Bam does this, and that's crazy, man. Bro, shit. I mean, obviously, you guys have heard. Obviously, a lot. There's obviously been complaints. There's people who support Bam and his game. I mean, hey, what do you guys think? Well, for me personally, like I do have, I do have my own objective. I do have an objective standpoint on this, and I also have my own like subjective point of view on this thing. If you guys want my subjective point of view on this, I do not approve of that shit. Okay, like that shit was bro. This bro. Come on, like the NBA needs to do everything in its power to remove this game from existence. Okay, like this was crazy, man. Like this a game that's not even more impressive than a whole bunch of 60-point games that I've seen, in recent years. It's like you're telling me like it just doesn't it just doesn't feel right to me that Bam has his name up there with Wilt and Kobe. Like what? Like I don't know, because Kobe's 81 point game was just so like that performance was sacred. Okay, like it was the highest scoring game ever recorded. Obviously, Will Chamberlain's 100 point game was not recorded, but Kobe's 81 was. So that was the highest scoring game ever recorded, and like that performance was objectively really like impressive. Like bro, and now all of a sudden you got Bam with who scored more points, but like Bam's 83 performance is now the highest scoring game ever recorded. And it's like his performance was, bro, nowhere near as good as Kobe's 81. I mean, I'm not saying it's not a good performance at all, but bro, it's not even on Kobe's level. Like, it's like, bro, I don't know. That shit just doesn't feel right. Like, okay, it just doesn't feel right to me. That's like, bro, I don't approve of that. See, that right there is my, is my subjective point of view. But if I'm being objective now, that like when people try to like this like when people try to like discredit the whole thing by saying that it wasn't legitimate, it's not true. It was legitimate. Okay, this is not a game where they just gave him fake stats or gave him everything. It's like they did not give him nothing. Okay, like I mean, sure he was maybe helped during the game, with the missed free throws, Eric Spoelstra, letting him in the game, whatever. He was probably helped, but he was not given anything. Okay, he still had to work for all his buckets and all his points. So, like he still had to get his. Okay, so you can't call this like a fake. You can't call this fake or not legitimate. Okay, it's legit. Okay, that was a legit game. Whether we like it or not. Okay, this is a legitimate game. A legitimate 83 point game, and hey, it is what it is, man. You see, I mean, that's the thing. We can't. So that's the thing. If you're being really objective, completely, you can't argue the legitimacy of this game. You can't. Okay, but you can definitely argue whether if this performance is as impressive, as more or even more than Kobe's. That right there is a debate that make a lot more sense than arguing the legitimacy of this game. But hey, this is what I think of that. What do you guys think? Anyways, let's get.
Take a look at the best scoring nights throughout NBA history, and you will see a list of the greatest players to ever play the game. Jordan 69, Steph 62, Lillard 71, Luka's 73, Kobe Bryant's famous 81. It's the most coveted record book in all of basketball, a testament and historical evidence of the greatest nights in NBA history by some of the greatest players in NBA history. Which begs the question, What the hell is Bam Adebayo doing here?
Girl, that's exactly what I'm thinking. It doesn't feel right. Like, why is his name up there? Like, come on, man. Come on, bro. Like,
mind-boggling modern NBA record of 83 points. Well, this, my friends, is the result of quite possibly the most egregious case of stat padding the NBA has ever seen. And despite scoring the second most points in a single game in the history of the NBA, Bam's 83-point night will go down as one of the most shocking and controversial games we may ever see.
that's crazy, bro. And honestly, bro, like, I mean, the thing is that myself as a Kobe fan, I can't be mad that his record was broken, you know? Because the thing is that I literally predicted that, his record was going to be broken in this decade, okay, in the 2020s. The reason why I thought this is because I thought that the skill set was there, for the players in the league. And also I thought that the factors catering to scoring in this era would make it a lot easier for players to do it. For example, the inflation of scoring, the inflation of free throws or whatever, the inflation of 3-point attempts, all of that stuff right there. I feel like all of that stuff right there would make it a lot easier for a really good skilled player to do it and pass Kobe's record. Obviously. So obviously, with that being said, when Kobe, I said literally that if someone was to ever in this decade break Kobe's record, it would be done in that specific way. Exactly how Bam did it. By taking all these free throws, all these threes, and basically just stat padding all the way in the end to the point where they don't even need his last 30 points or something. But yeah, I literally predicted that it was gonna happen just like that. So I can't be mad for something I predicted. So whatever, man. Anyways, it is what it is, man.
Today's video is sponsored by Arena Club.
You guys go ahead and support that.
Cards like me, searching for that one player, that one season, that one card you've always wanted. Arena. On Tuesday night, in a game featuring the Washington Wizards and the Miami Heat, with 1 minute and 46 seconds left in the fourth quarter, the Heat were up 146 to 119. By all conceivable measures, this game was a blowout. It's over. But with that being the case, why is Drew Smith attempting a full court heave while his team is up nearly 30 points on a piss-poor Wizards team? Well, he's not. He's trying to get the ball to Bam Adebayo, who is being double-teamed 50 feet away from the ball because he has 79 points and absolutely no intention of subbing out of this game. At this point, the only way Bam is going to add to his historic total will be at the free throw line, because Washington is now guarding him with their entire roster. And what started as a normal basketball game has now become a full-blown circus act. But it didn't start this way. In just the first quarter of this game, Bam Adebayo had 31 points, the second most points scored in the first quarter of a game in NBA history by half.
Yeah, I saw this thing, but 31 points in the first quarter. I saw it literally, like, I was literally just scrolling, bro, and then I saw this, bro. Bam, 31 points in the first quarter. I'm like, whoa, what the fuck?
Time, Bam had 43, already a career high, and the second most points scored in the first half of a game in NBA history. Going into the third, the Wizards still had no answer for Bam. His points still flooding in, both naturally in the flow of the game and ethically. By the end of the third, Bam had 62 points, which, you guessed it, is the second most points through 3 quarters in NBA history. Before the start of the fourth quarter, Bam's performance was already being celebrated by his teammates and fans. He had broken LeBron's franchise scoring record of 61. He set a new career high, and the Heat were blowing the Wizards out by 20. And it is at this point where Bam and his coaching staff are left with a decision. Stay in the game and build onto an already substantial lead. Leave the floor and sub out as the hero of the night, or stay in the game and potentially chase the league's scoring record. What decision should they make? Well, it just so happens that I covered this exact predicament in my last video, where I asked the question, is it possible to score 100 points in an NBA game? The final verdict? Yes, it is possible. The only problem? The circumstances required to have such a game are so unlikely that we will probably never see 100 points ever again. Unless a player is willing to infringe on the integrity of the game itself. There have been many games throughout the years that had record-breaking potential, but for a few reasons, most notably the game being a blowout and the potential record breaker respectfully sitting the final quarter, there have been very few instances where a player was able to genuinely chase the record without any negative consequences. How did Bam Adebayo drop the most points in modern NBA history?
Yeah, he went off script, you know? He did the exact opposite than all of these guys did, you know? He kept playing.
Tuesday night in March.
Great respect to let him play. History of the NBA. Now 3. Bam. He gets fouled.
By choosing option C and infringing on the integrity of the game. In what could have been a celebrated, memorable, and ethical performance, Bam and the Heat decided to go a different route. With about 9 minutes
they went off script. These motherfuckers went off script, bro.
left in this game, Bam had this incredible and one. A blow-by followed up with this great acrobatic finish at the rim through contact, and an explosion from the fans in the arena. And after hitting the free throw, this would have been the ideal and historically acceptable moment for Bam to check out of this game. It was his 70th point of the night. Miami had the game all but wrapped up. And up to this point, all of his points were ethical, non-GMO, farm-raised buckets. But instead, Bam stayed in the game. And here is how he scored his final 13 points.
Like the free throw.
Free throw, free throw, free throw, free throw, miss three, layup, free throw, miss three, turnover, miss three, free throw, free throw, free throw, free throw, intentional miss free throw, attempting to manufacture more points, free throw, free throw. Bye-bye Kobe, hello Bam. In what is now being called the most unethical game of basketball the league has ever seen, the Miami Heat spent the final 7 minutes of this game executing every conceivable tactic to manufacture more points for Bam Adebayo. Chucking up unnecessary threes, intentionally fouling the Wizards to get possession, even going as far as intentionally missing a free throw to try to get the ball back to Bam. And as a result, they are quickly discovering why Kobe's modern scoring record stood for so long and why no one can seem to match it despite a number of players getting close. Because, wait, I actually already said this a week ago, let me find the clip real quick. 100 points in a single game is possible, but the circumstances required to have such a game, to justify one player taking that many shots and doing so without infringing on the integrity of the game, is so narrow that we may never see it happen again. Ah, that's right. The fallout for unapologetically chasing out. Yeah. This is truly a definitive and timeless paradox of big performances. Historic nights like this have become less about can a player pull it off and more about do the circumstances require a player to pull it off, in which case the circumstances virtually never do. This performance from Bam is not only proof of that, but it is evidence of what we all have known to be the truth. There are many players around the league right now who could go for 80, 90, maybe even 100 points on the right night, if they set their mind to it, if them and their team game plan for it, if it is their sole focus for 48 minutes, if the Washington Wizards are on their schedule. But even attempting something like this would require a player to break the unwritten rules of basketball. And that clearly isn't worth the backlash of possibly pulling it off. It isn't worth it. So what were the fruits of Bam's labor? The second most points in a single game in NBA history, the most free throw attempts in a single game in NBA history, by far the most free throws made in a game in NBA history, and the fifth most three-pointers attempted in a game. Oh, and he also broke the record for the most criticism received by a single player in one game. Now, if we ignore all context and what it took to get there, according to the game score metric, which takes all the good things a player does in the box score minus all the bad things and spits out a number that attempts to reflect the impact a player had on a game, Bam had statistically the sixth best game in NBA history, which is unfortunate that it will not be remembered as such. In my last video, I used this chart to display the greatest scoring nights in NBA history and the pace these players were on to reach their final totals. For example, here's Luka's 73, here's Booker's 70, Lillard's 71, here's Kobe's 81, and here is Bam's 83. Through 3 quarters, he was tied for the second most points all time going into the 4th. In fact, that and one bucket in the 4th quarter that I mentioned earlier is right here. All of his buckets leading up to this point were non-forced ethical buckets within the flow of the game. Bam Adebayo was playing out of his mind, better than anyone ever has in modern NBA history, even before all of these shameless scoring tactics were deployed. The stat padding that spurred all of this outrage took place here in the final 9 minutes of the game. All of this is now invalid because of this. A week ago, I said the methods the Warriors used to get Wilt to 100 were outrageous and would never be used in the modern NBA. 7 days later, we're watching a center get triple teamed 94 feet out while up 25 with no admissible reason for him still being on the court.
That's crazy.
I now stand corrected. But I don't think these final minute tactics are worth discrediting this entire performance.
Yeah, because for real, like this performance for real deserves some credit, definitely, man.
Now stand corrected.
Because you're telling me he scored like 70 points, ethically. Hey, they say, hey, that means something. Hey,
final minute tactics are worth discrediting this entire performance. 83 points is 83 points. Regardless of how you go about getting them, you still have to go out and get them. The irony of this whole thing is that
that's exactly what I said at the start, whatever.
I've seen a lot of comments about how this game was proof for some fans that Wilt Chamberlain actually did score 100 back in 1962, despite there being no video evidence. If Bam can get to 83, Wilt Chamberlain could and definitely did get to 100. Which there's already a laundry list of proof from that game. I don't know why this would be the determining factor. But if Bam's game is being ridiculed and dismissed, even if the criticism is justified, then so should the mythical 100-point scoring record. Because the way that Bam got his points is the exact method Wilt used to get his.
Exactly, literally, bro. Literally, like, go do your research. It's the exact same way. Bro, the way that they helped, Wilt get to 100, bro, this was actively their goal, like, as a team. They did that shit, man.
Bar for bar. During the final minutes of Heat Wizards, Keyshawn Johnson intentionally missed a free throw in hopes that the Heat would get the rebound to get it back to Bam. This is exactly what the Warriors did for Wilt. The Heat also intentionally fouled while holding an insurmountable lead to get the ball back faster. The Warriors did the same exact thing to get Wilt to 100. If Bam's 83 points is invalid because of these tactics, then for that same reason, so is Wilt's 100.
Exactly, so is Wilt's.
100. Not only did the 2 biggest scoring nights in NBA history deploy the most gimmicky, shameless tactics to pull it off, this is quite possibly the only way to pull it off. The only difference between Bam's 83 and Wilt's 100 is video cameras and an angry mob of critics online. Now, to be completely honest, I was thrilled to finally see a coach allow his player to chase a record and have himself a night that most players could only dream of. You want to know how many games I've watched that were spoiled by an early sub? A player being punished for giving too much belt to the opposing team. A 3-point party cut short because they were playing too good. Potential record shut down because it wouldn't be in good taste. If this is what it takes to make up for all the times I had to watch Steve Kerr pull a player from a game on the verge of a league record, then so be it. I am just as surprised as you that I will now see Bam Adebayo's name above Kobe Bryant's for the rest of my days.
Bro.
But to see Bam have the audacity to stay in this game, emphatically do what no one else would dare, was just as fun as it was shocking. Which, by the way, every single player, without exception, would choose to stay in the game and chase a record if their coach allowed them to. This just happens to be the rare case where a coach did allow it. How can we blame Bam for doing something every player would do if given the chance? I don't know, maybe instead of putting all the blame on the man who just scored 83 points in an NBA game, we should aim that frustration at the team that allowed it to happen. Throughout this game, Bam attempted 43 shots, which is a lot. But you want to know who shot more shots in a single game? Kobe. And Westbrook, and DeJounte Murray, and Kobe, and Cade Cunningham, and Kobe, Chris Webber, Kobe, Brunson, Jordan, and Kobe. What about all those free throws Bam attempted? Those are the symptom of a team desperate to slow a player down, but can't stop him without fouling. It has been decades since the last time a player chased points to this extent, let alone had a coaching staff that allowed him to do it. But as I previously mentioned, this feels like conclusive proof that the only thing keeping that 100-point record intact is sheer respect for the unwritten rules.
Yeah, literally, bro.
And the game itself. If Bam can go for 83, I can only imagine what players like Luka, Shea, Giannis, and Wemby could go for if given the opportunity.
Yes.
Whenever we're stuck looking at this for the foreseeable future, what are your thoughts on this game? Do you feel like Bam's 83 was legitimate? Or did the tactics used at the end of this game damage the legacy of this performance and how we'll remember it? I gotta know. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, until next time.
Damn it, bro. I mean, I already said my piece, you know, like, the performance is legitimate, you know, and I don't think the remaining 13 points invalidate the whole performance, you know. I don't think that. I mean, it sucks that I have to see Bam up there, but that's completely subjective, you know. But yeah, if I'm being objective, that's really what it is, you know. But damn it, bro. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.